You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
The Dre Area Sports Show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to save $20 on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. Power Brand Systems. If you're looking to build a website for your small business or YouTube channel, then check out Power Brand Systems. Use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase at Power Brand Systems.
And tonight, Golden State takes on the Houston Rockets in a Game 5 matchup that could determine who's moving on to the next round or if there's going to be a Game 6. And now I'm joined by Drew Forder, a good friend of mine, big-time Warriors fan. Drew, dude, what a game.
What a series.
What a series.
What a series this is, man. It's been, it's been topsy-turvy, a little bit up and down. It's been, it's gotten spicy, especially the last game, Game 4, was super spicy. So, man, it has been a really great series. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I was telling my brother, I was like, dude, this is like a football game. You know what I mean? Like it's so physical that, these guys are getting bashed around. Jimmy Butler is breaking his butt like in Game 2, which hold on, my microphone just switched.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't hear Dre anymore.
I know. I hit the button and it turned off. But when Jimmy Butler hit the ground, I mean, that was hard. That was a hard hit. You can hear me okay now, right?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, when Jimmy got hurt in Game 2, it was that you got that kind of a doom and gloom feel. And, I was watching the game with some of my friends and family members, and we're like, shit, this is not good. Like we could be we could be going down a serious, we could lose this series because what I'm thinking is that this team, they are pretty much, without Jimmy, they are pretty much worse than they were early in the season when
right.
they, because they traded away Kyle Anderson, they traded away Andrew Wiggins. So now it's like, okay, we're basically Steph and Draymond. And we know how that goes, right?
Yeah, just Steph and Draymond. But then again, in Game 3, the whole team stepped up. GP2 stepped up with 17 points. Probably more than that, actually. Let me pull that up.
GP2 was amazing in Game 3. He was hitting corner threes. He was basically defending everybody on the floor. He was rim running. He was, just doing everything that he did in 2022 to help us win that title. And, he wasn't that effective in Game 4, but look who stepped up in Game 4. Buddy Hield. Freaking, hit 4 or 5 3-pointers. He was actually a defensive presence.
Yes, he was.
Even
active hands.
after the game, I don't know if you heard the post game, but Jimmy even gave him a compliment.
Yeah, he did.
He even said he ain't that good, but he was good tonight.
Well, the whole team loves Buddy Hield, and so he's one of those big locker room guys. And like you were saying, when it came to Game 4, the guy was step back threes. He was knocking down shots. He even had a shot late in the game with a minute and 9 seconds left. It was a fadeaway jumper that it rimmed out. It should have went down, and it just rimmed out to the point where I couldn't say, "God damn it, buddy!" I was like, "Oh." He almost had that. He was balling out there, and I love what I saw from Buddy Hield. And another reason why I think Steve Kerr, gave him the start over Moses Moody, who I think is having a great series, but Buddy is capable of producing more points. And like I said, Buddy had 15 points. He was 3 of 9 from the three-point line, from three-point land. He was 6 of 15. He also had 3 assists and 2 steals. What's crazy is that you would think that, okay, if Buddy Hield's going to start the game, then Jalen Green's going to have a good start.
No,
Jalen Green is the Houston Rockets version of Andrew Wiggins.
He is.
A ton of talent, and then just disappears.
Yeah, he had a great game too. 38 points, as we all remember.
I mean, who didn't have a great game too? If you're Houston Rockets,
everybody had a great. Now, just some things to think about for tonight. These guys. I mean, it can really go one of two ways. And I heard you were chatting with, is it Mr. Sterling?
Sterling, yes.
Yeah, the last guest that you had on. I heard you guys talking about how tonight's going to be, the Warriors got this. I
don't know.
Get too
Being
excited.
positive.
And here's the reason why. With a game 5 now, if you look at what happened with Miami in game 4 against Cleveland, they were down 3-0. They just gave up. They basically gave up. They were down 30 points after like the first quarter. It was like 43 to 16. So they were done. Okay, but Miami's a different team. They're more of a veteran team. They also kind of they realize they're just not good enough. This Houston team, they are young. They haven't been in this situation before, and they do play better at home. They almost beat us in game 1. Game 1 was a tough game. I mean, it was nip and tuck the whole way. The Warriors made the plays down the stretch. But game 2 was pretty much dominant. I know we had no Jimmy. I know he was out, but they were still up 24-16 in the first quarter when Jimmy got hurt. Yeah. So they were playing really well at the Toyota Center. So I wouldn't look past them playing really well. Jalen Green, he's probably going to hit some shots tonight. Another guy to look at, Jabari Smith. He's been really good in this series.
Really good.
So these guys play better at home. So just look for that tonight.
Another thing, too, that I loved about Game 4, obviously, was Brandon Pajemski. He had 26 points, was an absolute baller, was 6 of 11 from three-point land, and was 9 of 18 shooting from the field. He was a big reason why we won that game, him and Buddy Hield, with Steph only having 17 points. But Steph knew, like, hey, look, these guys are hitting their shots. I don't have to force my game. We're doing this on our own. And also, of course, Jimmy Butler with the broken ass cheek. He had 27 points. He was 12 of 12 from the line. The entire starting 5, if you look at their plus minus, Jimmy Butler was a +2, Hield +17, Green +17, even though he was fucking fighting everybody and getting fouls. Pajemski was a +7, and Curry was a +12. And that's huge because when you look over at the Houston Rockets, Amen Thompson was a -17. I actually thought he had a good game. He had 17 points. But it was a quiet 17 points. Like, it all came in a big bunch in the fourth quarter. I was like, oh, this guy. So you got a lot of guys who are struggling to figure out what the fuck they're supposed to do. Dylan Brooks is like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to fucking fight everybody. Van Vliet's like, I'm going to bomb threes. He was 8 of 12 from three-point land for 25 points. Sangoon, I mean, look, he knows that he's bigger than everybody else. He's a talented center, and so he's scoring in the paint. He had 31 points, but you know what? They did something last night that I haven't seen them do in a while. And it's something they did against LeBron James in all those years. Their goal was, okay, Sangoon can beat us, but nobody else can. And so they were like, oh, if he scores, but we have to make it harder on everybody else. Now, Van Vliet scored a lot of points because he hit 8 threes. You know what I mean?
He was amazing.
He was just bombing away. So, and he's a veteran. He's a good player. I like him a lot, and so I expected that from him. And one of these games, I expected this.
But the difference in the game, Dre, what you just mentioned it, Jimmy Butler, 14 points in the fourth quarter. He got to the free throw line. The foul that got called on Dylan Brooks in the corner with like 1:09 left. That that could have gone either way. I know it looked like he got hit in the rib cage, but he stepped up. He made all 3 of those free throws. All 3 of them. And then basically, I don't know if you listen again to the post game, but he told Draymond, you get Sengun, you get a stop, I'm going to get the rebound. And man, even with his injury, even with his ass basically on fire, the guy couldn't move all night. He rose up and got that rebound and held it strong, and then goes to the line and hits 2 more clutch free throws.
Clutch.
This guy, Andre, it is such a luxury to have a second closer. I've been saying this, and we were talking about this a couple months ago before the trade when we were talking about who do we want, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, do we want, Lauri Markkanen in the future? Jimmy Butler has been a closer his entire career, ever since he got to, especially when he was at Minnesota, and then when he got to to Miami, he became the guy. And Steph does not have to do it all by himself. Yeah. So Steph did not have a great game. He only had 17 points in game 4. He really, the only play that he really made in the fourth quarter was that pump fake 3 in the corner. What the hell was Sengun doing jumping on that? There was 2 seconds left on the shot clock. It's like stupid basketball, but that was a huge shot. for the Warriors to get back in the game, and then Jimmy closed the game.
Yeah. It's incredible, the type of play that the Warriors are putting out there. When you look at the Rockets bench points, they only scored, what is that, 11? They scored 14 points. They only played 3 players off the bench, Tari Easton, Jabari Smith, and Steven Adams. Everybody else on that bench just sat there. The Warriors, for that matter, they actually played more than 3. They played, obviously, Moody, Payton, and Post, but they also played Trace Jackson-Davis, Kevon Looney, and Guy Santos. So they're a deeper team. They have more forwards to throw at you than you realize. And if you look at what they did, right? Kevon Looney had 3 fouls. Jackson Davis had 2 fouls.
Yep.
That's 5 fouls that probably would have went against Draymond,
and he already had
Butler.
5 fouls.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they have more guys to absorb fouls, and that's what they were doing. But like I said, they did that thing that they do against like a lot of LeBron teams where it's like, hey, let LeBron beat us, but nobody else can, right? The other thing too was smart move by Steve Kerr. He started fouling Steven Adams. And then they took him out of the game, and I was like, wow, it worked. They did it. And what's crazy is that I want to say under 2 minutes, you can't do the Shaq-a-hack.
You can't do it.
But what startled me was that within 2 minutes, with 2 minutes left in the game, he didn't bring him back in. He was destroying us, and he left him on the bench. And what happened? The Warriors took over. It was like, oh my God!
Did. And they were getting all the loose balls and all the rebounds at the end of the game because Steven Adams was killing us,
killing them,
and in the post. But speaking of post, I want to talk about one player that I thought was the key to the game, and that's Quentin Post. I in the first half of that game, of Game 4, the Warriors were lost. They were really struggling. I mean, really similar to Game 3. I thought in Game 3 and Game 4 they struggled in the first half offensively with their offensive execution. In Game 3, Steph started getting hot, and then it was just like over. But in Game 4, Quentin Post was our lifeline in the first half. I think he hit 2 or 3 3-pointers. He was getting boards. He was really active, and he gave us like 11 or 12 points. I don't know exactly what he gave
13.
us. 13 points. So Quentin Post was huge. And if we end up playing, tonight's going to be, man, if you're a basketball fan tonight, for all you listeners, I mean, we've got the early game tonight. We've got the 4:30 game. And then the T-Wolves at the Lakers in their Game 5 coming up tonight, which the T-Wolves have a chance remarkably to close out the Lakers at the Crypt, at Crypto Arena, which is going to be incredible. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think the T-Wolves have a chance. Either way, I actually wouldn't mind if the Warriors win tonight. I wouldn't mind that series going further along. But if you think about the next round, if we end up playing Minnesota, which is likely right now, they have some pretty large human beings on their roster. I mean, they've got Rudy Gobert, they've got Julius Randle, they've got Naz Reid, and
it's going to be hard.
We're going to need Quentin Post. We're going to need Trace Jackson-Davis. Kuminga. I know Kuminga's been a big kind of an enigma. He only really played in Game 2 and a little bit in Game 3. But they may need him in a Minnesota series also because of the athleticism of that team and their the offensive juggernauts that they have when you think about Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo and, Mike Conley and just everyone. That team is really well-rounded. So just think about that tonight, Warrior fans, as you're watching these games of what's to come, because this could get really interesting.
And this game tonight, it could easily be where Houston comes out, bombs away, blowout win, and we go back to San Francisco where it's going to be a close game. Or it could be a game sort of like Game 1 where it's going to be a close contested game and one of these teams is going to pull it out at the end. The Warriors may have the mentality of like, hey, if it gets away from us, let's just let it go and focus on the next game. Because they're an older veteran team, they're not going to, if it gets out of control, they're going to be like, just let this one go. I'm not worried about this. We'll get them at home. But I do hope they close it out in Houston. And dude, I'm telling you, man, when it comes to the NBA, I hate saying this, but the Golden State Warriors are like the Kansas City Chiefs of the football. And Steph Curry is like the Pat Mahomes, where everybody probably hates the Warriors. If you're Memphis, if you're the Houston Rockets, you've seen your seasons get destroyed by the Golden State Warriors, even the Sacramento Kings. So tonight will be a very pivotal game for this series. Niners. Warriors got a chance to close out the series against the Houston Rockets. It's going to be a tough game because they're going to come at them with everything they got. How do you see this game playing out tonight?
I see the Rockets coming out, playing well like they've done really in the first two games of this series. I think they're going to come out and play well, but I do think the Warriors have something again that the Rockets really can't compete with, and that again is having these two superstar players that they can have on the floor at any time. And if Steve Kerr does what he's been doing this entire series, where he staggers some of the minutes, especially early in the second quarter and early in the fourth quarter, I think this has a chance to be a 10-point win for the Warriors, somewhere in the range of 105-95. 110 to 99, something to that nature. But if the Rockets come out and they're making their shots, and like you just said, the Warriors kind of, we're just going to take it easy and come back, because they've done that. They did that, I think, back to 2022. If you remember, they were up 3-1 on the Memphis Grizzlies in the second round. And I know this is a long time ago and it was a different team, but it was a similar team. We had Steph Curry, we had Draymond Green, and then we had Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole, like, honestly, he reminds me a lot of a guy like Brennan Pajimski. And I'm not saying that they're the same exact player, but as far as the scoring goes and the kind of point production that we get, they're very similar. So similar team. We also had Looney at the time, who was much better. And I remember we went to Memphis in a game 5 and we got beat by 50 points.
Yeah.
You can go back and look at it. It was like 137 to 80.
They just let it go. They were just like, forget it. We're out of here.
They let it go. And then they came back for a game 6 and it was a Clay game and Clay just went off. Yeah. Here's the only thing that I would say, and what the danger of that. We've got to compromise Jimmy Butler. He did not look good physically the other night. I don't care what anybody says, man. He looked like an old man until the fourth quarter when he put on his, like Superman cape and just like took over the game. But that's a danger for me. If you're talking about playing more games, Houston, they're a lot younger other than Van Vliet. I mean, this guy, Amen Thompson, he's incredible. He's an incredible athlete. Jabari Smith, like I said, you've got guys like Torrey Eason, who, they can come in. I know they don't have a lot of guys off the bench, but they still scare me the longer this series goes on. So I think the best move for the Warriors is to go for it tonight.
Yeah.
If they don't have it in the first half, okay, you let the rope down. But if you were asking me to bet on this game, I would say I think the Warriors are definitely going to win the game outright, and I think they're going to win it by about 10 points.
And here's the thing too: when you look at what the Rockets did in Game 4, other than Jalen Green disappearing and not being able to contribute, they were firing on all cylinders. They were winning the rebounds. They were blocking shots. They were playing insane defense. They were getting into fights with the Warriors, pushing them around, getting in their face. They were scoring, and they still lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a demoralizing loss. The Warriors have done this for over a decade now, where they let some teams will come out and give them everything they got, and they still fucking lose. And when that happens, it's very demoralizing. They're just like, dude, we did everything we had to do last night, and we still lost.
let me ask you a question, Dre. I know we're getting short on time, but do you think the Rockets are going to try to muck up the game tonight again, like they did in Game 4?
Absolutely.
Do you expect them? Because think about what happened in Game 4, and I know you just mentioned it. There was the little taunting, which I didn't think was much of a taunt by Steph when he put up the 2 sign for Dylan Brooks and the fouls, and then, whatever that was. But all of those, instances, they kind of played a role in the game as far as Draymond's foul trouble. And then the one that really got me was the one with Torrey Eason and Draymond, because we've seen this before with Draymond. I mean, we've seen it with Steven Adams. Speaking of being on the floor, Steven Adams, it happened in 2016.
He hit him in the balls,
where he hit him in the balls, and then he hit LeBron in the balls later.
After he stepped over him, though.
After he stepped over him, but that cost us a championship. Yeah. Literally cost us a championship because he missed Game 5. The rest is history. Yeah. So, like, what do you expect tonight as far as the Rockets? Are they going to continue to do that? And if they do, how do you expect the Warriors to respond?
I mean, they're a veteran team. I don't think the Warriors are going to get dismayed by any way against the aggressiveness of the Houston Rockets. But I think that if the calls start going against the Rockets, it's going to make them more and more frustrated because they're a younger team with less experience, and that lack of experience turns into eagerness, which turns into nervousness because you're trying so hard to make something happen. That thing with Tari Eason, like later on. He went over and was talking to Tari Eason, and they were kind of laughing. And even Reggie Miller was like, look, he's even apologizing to him. Like, hey, man, I didn't mean. And then what happens? Ahmed Johnson goes over there.
Ahmed Thompson. Yeah.
Ahmed Thompson goes over there and starts pushing him and everything. So
I saw that.
To me, that's a narrative-based move because they probably told each other, hey, when these guys get in our face, we got to fucking stick up for each other. So he went over there by default and was like, hey, screw off. And it was like, what? And that's why he was like, man, what are you doing? And not only that, but when the Houston Rockets like to do the fucking like what Duke Blue Devils do, or they have a little huddle during free throws,
sneak into the huddle,
and so Draymond started going over there like, what are you guys talking about? What are you guys talking about? And then later on, when Pajemski went over to go talk to Steve Kerr, Ahmed Thompson went over there and did the same thing, and they were like, "What are you doing, dude?" And, it's just kind of like you can tell that they're young, they're reactionary, they're trying to do what their competition is doing, and it just shows the level of maturity that they have. And when you got a guy like Dylan Brooks, where I'm sure if he's on your team, you fucking love this guy. You're like, fuck yeah, he's in everyone's face. But in reality, he's a detriment to their team. He gets into stupid arguments, and he stops the game. He slows the game down because he's trying to talk shit. It's the same guy who had that press conference where he's like, I just think we need to really focus on building this dynasty. That shows you how dumb he is because, like, you can't call yourself a dynasty if you haven't won anything. So This guy will continue to not win anything, and I hope they beat them tonight. I hope it's a big win. I'd love for them to blow them out at home. The best win the Warriors have ever had in postseason history, well, there's a lot of good ones, but one of the ones I love the most was the last game they played against the Boston Celtics in Boston when they literally went in there and just kicked the shit out of them and won the championship. It was like, fuck you, we're the champions, goodbye, When Steph hit that like 27-footer and they were just demoralized, I hope we get something like that. Probably not, because this is a really good defensive team and they're eager and they're angry. So we'll see how it plays out, but that game is tonight at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
I believe it's on TNT, I want to say, or ESPN, one of the two. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. Drew, we're up against the top of the hour, or the mid-hour, so I want to thank you for coming on here. Please come back again. I want to have you on as much as possible, talking Warriors, Giants, all that. So, Drew, thank you so much for coming on here, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the time. Go Warriors, everyone. And, get home early from work tonight, watch the game, and cheer them on, man. They need our support. So
absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Drew Forder, everybody. And Drew, thank you for coming on. And, dude, we'll do it again, man. For sure.
For sure, man. As soon as possible. When we get to that next round, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you for watching this video. If you want more of this content, then check out some of these recommended videos right here on your screen. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by going to my website, which is nicotina.net, and there are memberships available under Dre Area Sports.